Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Virtuous Jedi. Today we have a fun one. So a lot of nonprofits and really the whole world are wondering right now, AI is such a big thing, it's such a buzzword, but how do I actually incorporate AI and its benefits into my organization especially without causing undue risk? We definitely don't want our supporters to get AI generated content that does not, fit our brand voice or does not include the information that we want to, but we still want to use some of that power to automate processes to make our jobs easier and to help us create more personalized experiences for our donors. So today I'm going to give a very specific example, and we're going to dive into all the nitty gritty of the connectors and how everything's being brought together. And the reason I'm going this far into detail is because I want you to see every step of the way how simple this type of setup really is when you leverage tools that are very powerful like Virtuous and Zapier and ChatGPT. We can actually bring all of this tech together. It does not take a super long time to set up, and we can create really powerful, robust automations and really save a lot of time and better engage with our supporters. So this is just one specific use case. There's definitely infinite number of possibilities out there. This is not the only way to do this, but I think that it's a great thought experiment and definitely worth trying out. So let's dive right in. The inspiration for this today comes from a Virtuous tool called Personalized Email Templates. So if we are in the settings of Virtuous and we go to data management here, there's this personalized email template section. So I recommend organizations use this for things like admin tasks, repetitive emails that are being sent out. Maybe a recurring gift is set up and the credit card expires and you get a notification from Stripe or whatever your payment gateway is. And you need to send an email to the donor and say, hey, we noticed that your credit card expired. Can we help you get everything set up? Here's a link to your portal where you can manage your recurring gift, that kind of a thing. You could type that out every single time. That's pretty time intensive. You could keep a Word document on your computer and copy paste, but now you're opening up that Word document every time, finding the content, copying and pasting. It's just extra steps that aren't really necessary. So the way that the Virtuous personalized templates work is you come in here, you create a personalized template, you give it a name, a subject line, you're able to merge in some basic contact information. So if you wanted to say, in my case, Jonathan, your recurring gift expired, you could merge in first name, your recurring payment failed. And then you can put in the body your content that you generally send. And again, we get those merge tags, so we can put in the first name. So, hello, Jonathan. I noticed your recurring payment failed. Can I help? Now, obviously you'd want more content than that, but the general idea. So let me just give this a title real quick. And then I'm going to save this. So what this allows me to do is if I'm on a contact record, so let's just jump into a random contact here. While looking at the record, noticing, doing my research on their failed gift and all of that other detail that I'll need before I even draft any content for them, I can click on this compose personalized email option. I can choose the individual that I want to send the email to. I can choose the template here. It shows me what that's going to look like. And when I click on compose email, what's going to happen is that my email browser on my computer is going to load up and already have everything pre-filled, ready to send. And I can have my email signature in the footer. It's going to send from my inbox. It's not being sent through a bulk marketing tool. So it looks something like this. I now have the ability to add some extra content to this, which is great as well. So I can really personalize this for my donor. The problem that I've run into is while this is a great tool, a lot of individuals don't actually use a desktop browser for their email. They're not using like a desktop Outlook or something like that. They're just logging into Gmail on a browser. And this is not going to open up Gmail on the browser. It's designed to open up on whatever your system default email provider is, whatever app is installed on your computer. So my thought was, what if there was a way that we could look at certain triggers in the database, generate an email dynamically through ChatGPT, and then go on from there to take that email and create a draft email in my Gmail, and then create a task or some notice for me to go in and look at that and choose whether I'm going to send it or modify it or whatever. So to do that, we're going to hop on over to Zapier. Zapier is a fantastic tool that allows you to connect a ton of apps, and they recently implemented a ChatGPT integration. So what we're going to do is a slightly different example. We're going to say every time a gift over $500 comes through in Virtuous, every time a new gift over 500 is created, I want to generate a personalized email to that donor and put it in my email drafts for me to review, make edits to, and then send out. So let's start by creating a brand new Zap. And because the trigger is a new gift in Virtuous, we're going to start there. So I'm going to click on the trigger and I'm going to search for Virtuous. I already have my Virtuous account linked up here, and I'm going to choose new or updated gift, continue. This is where I've already got this linked to my Sandbox account, so you would set this up to your Virtuous account. And I only want this to trigger on new gifts. I don't care if a gift gets modified or edited down the road. So any new gift. I'm going to go ahead and test this trigger. And we're going to see if there's some recent gifts in my Sandbox that we can use to work with. So we have this gift here from Ross Geller for $300. Let's go ahead and just work through this setup with his gift. So I'm going to continue with that selected record. And the next thing that we're going to do is set up a filter. The filter is what's going to allow us to add in the parameters of, is this gift $500 or more? Let's do a calculation. So I'm going to say only continue if, and then I'm going to look for the amount. And I have a formatted amount and a non-formatted. I'm going to take the non-formatted without that $sign. I'm going to say gift amount, and then is greater than 499. So only run this Zap and only charge me for running this Zap if the gift amount is greater than $499. So let's test that. Remember, Ross's gift was $300. So it said your Zap would not have continued for this test run. That's fine. That's what we expect, so we can move forward. All right, so now we are going to add our ChatGPT step. So let's pull up the ChatGPT action. For this event, we're going to start a conversation. So basically, we're going to send some data over to ChatGPT. It's going to provide a response, and then we're going to use that response as part of our next step. I've already linked my ChatGPT account here, and I have a paid account. So just be aware there are some costs that will maybe incur with some of these. ChatGPT is like $20 a month right now. That's pretty negligible in the grand scheme of things. Okay, so right here we have the user message. This is what we are going to send on over to ChatGPT to initiate the response. So I've got some text here that I'm going to have it read. So basically I'm saying, here's some context about me. I'm the development director. I work for this nonprofit called the Human Fund. Our mission is to end the problem of hunger globally. We just got a donation from, and then I inserted dynamically through the Zapier options here, the name that's associated with that gift. Same with the gift amount. And then I also said, hey, just in case Ross gave us any notes in the gift notes section, I want you to understand what he wrote and read that and maybe incorporate that into your response. Okay. And then from here, I might want to also give some more instructions about the way that the output's going to be formatted. So don't include a signature line, because my email is already going to have my own signature block attached to it. Okay, so let's see how that goes. I'll take that. We'll leave it on the GPT 3.5 Turbo. You can change that model if you want. You can look at what all of these other options include. The username, so this is you. So you can say, I'm the user that I want to know that I'm the one that's sending over the information. If you want to give your ChatGPT assistant a name, you can. You can just leave this blank. If you want to give additional instructions to the assistant, so you can give some extra context to your assistant on what you want them to do or how you want them to behave. And then you can adjust some of these things down here. I would recommend reading the documentation on that if you want to deviate from the defaults. But let's just go ahead and continue and test this step and just see what outputs for this specific example. This will take just a second, so I'll speed this up. All right, so now we have our results. This is the content that was sent over. We'll see the actual name of the donor and the amount that's all being merged in. And then here is our content. Pretty general. I don't really love this part. So this is something that I would refine a little bit further and let it know what exactly I mean by the gift note section. But again, this is a general great first start, especially for how little context I provided it. It also did not remove the signature line. That's fine. There's some things that we can do for that, and I'll show you here in a second. But for now, let's just go on to our next step. So let's say we want to actually remove that signature line. I could actually put in a format step, and I can choose text. And what we're going to do is we are going to extract or split. We're going to split our text. We're going to pull in the output of our ChatGPT, so the reply here. And the separator is going to be your name. So everything after your name, let's split out. Right? Oh, it was this. So let me copy that exactly. Okay. So now if I test this step, what it should happen is that everything after the your name gets split out of the final results here, and now I have an output, which is this. I could do the same thing for the subject line if I wanted to remove that as well. So some options there. Okay, I added just a little bit more context here in the user message just to try to alleviate some of the extra things that were popping up, like the subject line and things like that. I still wasn't able to get it to avoid spitting out that footer with the your name. It just insists on doing it. I am using just the ChatGPT 3.5 model. That's the really old model, old in internet standards, the one from March instead of the one from July or whatever. So if you do have a paid OpenAI account or ChatGPT account, you can likely update this to a more recent model. So that's something to play around with, and the more recent models are going to definitely be a little bit better at generating the content you want. But that being the case, our text in the formatter step is still going to be good because it's going to split out. If ChatGPT decides that it wants to split out the signature in here, it's going to always, for the most part, say your name, and we're going to be able to split anything after that. So we're going to go ahead and keep that step. Okay, so let me just go ahead and retest this one more time just to make sure that that's all working. There we go, pulling that last little bit out. So finally, we want to go ahead and create our draft in Gmail. So let's go ahead and add in a Gmail action. The event here is going to be create draft. And then let's go in and add some info. So for our subject line, we're going to create this manually. We'll say, thank you for your gift of, And then this is where we can pull in that gift amount and then the name. The to here, we'll put in the email address. You have the ability to send this to multiple people if you wanted to. You have the ability to CC or BCC if you want. If you want to change the default from or from name that your email sends from, you can do that as well. For the most part, you can keep all of that as is. For our body, we're going to grab that text in the formatter and select the output there, and that'll give us all of the text that ChatGPT generated for us, minus that little subject or the signature line that it insists on adding to the content. Okay, here we can actually choose the signature that we want to use in Gmail. If we do have multiple signatures on our Gmail account, we can select those there. If you wanted to label it, choose the mailbox, all of that good stuff, those are all available, and you can add an attachment. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just test this step and send a draft email over to our Gmail account. So if I come over to my Gmail account and look at my drafts, you can see I was playing around with this earlier, but this is the most recent one. Thank you for your gift of $300. Everything here is popping up as expected. It's sent to Ross. Thank you for your gift of $300, Ross. Dear Ross, thank you for your gift, so on and so forth. So now I can add my signature if I want to. I can make any modifications to this content, and I can send. Now, an important thing to note here is that Virtuous does respect the BCC for the email sync. So if I wanted to make sure that this got logged to Virtuous as a note, I would have the ability to do that. So I can change this BCC to email sync at virtuous.org. And then when this gets sent over to Gmail, it'll already have that draft ready to go with the email sync email address set up. And that way that email that you modify and send will be sent over to Virtuous. For more info on that, check out the Virtuous support articles. They've got some good reference material on email sync. The reason we wouldn't want to do it here is because likely you're not going to love everything that ChatGPT spits out, and you're going to want to make some changes. So while we could go and add another action and say Virtuous is our next action and add a note, that's all something that we could do, but the note content, when we go to create that contact note, would be just the same output here, and it would not respect any modifications you made over in your Gmail account. So I think that really the best option there would be to do that through email sync. If you don't have email sync on your account, you can add that through your account manager. Okay, so now we have a working Zap that at least gets the email over to our drafts. Now we need to do something to notify us that we actually need to send the email. So there's a few different options here. The easiest option is to stay within the Virtuous ecosystem. So I can choose Virtuous as another action here. And for this one, I can say, let's create a task inside of Virtuous. So we'll link that again to our Virtuous account. The task type we can choose. These are the general ones, but you can customize these in Virtuous if you want some other options here. For instance, if you wanted an email task, the task would be send email to Ross. The description, ChatGPT has an email stored in your drafts to send to Ross for the gift amount on gift date. For the due date time, we could say something like today. Let's do immediately. And then the owner, we can select who we want to own this in our Virtuous account. Okay, so let's go ahead and test that step and just make sure that the task gets generated correctly. So we'll jump back over into Virtuous and go to our tasks. And there it is. So now I see the task. If I was on Ross Geller's profile, I would see that as well. I can view it, edit it, close it, mark it complete, just like any other task. So that would be if you want to just keep this all inside of Virtuous. But say, for instance, you keep all of your tasks in another platform. Maybe your organization is using Asana or Basecamp or Trello or some other tool. You could do the exact same thing there. So you would just come in here and search for the platform that you want that task to show up in, and you can add that as well. You can even add it in both places, tasks everywhere. But for now, I'm just going to keep it like this. So let's go ahead and remove this extra action. And I'm going to publish this Zap. Let me just name this Email Donors with Gifts Over 500. And I'm going to turn this on. Okay, so now I'm going to go back into Virtuous. And I'm going to add a new gift over $500. This one I'm going to add to Carol. So usually this would be done through the import tool, but I just want to do a quick test here. So I'm going to add a gift directly from her record. We'll do a check gift. And that will be $1,250. This gift should go to feed hungry people in New York City. See if the notes get pulled in ChatGPT's response. And then I do need to add this to a project, so I'll add the project here, and I will save that gift. Okay, so a new gift was just created here inside of Virtuous, which means that we should see a trigger happen over in Zapier. So if I go back to my Zap and I come back out to the main Zapier page, let me move my face around, and I go to Zap History. This will show me the history of all runs. So right now, this one says it's waiting. I can actually see the status of what's happening. So it says, hey, we created a new gift for Carol. There's all of that information here. Then we filtered that. And we succeeded, right? Because the 1250 was greater than 499. Then we had a conversation in ChatGPT. That was the data we sent in. Here's the export that came out. Then we formatted that text inside of our formatter and spit this out. And then finally, we created an email draft over in Gmail and created a task in Virtuous. So let me go back over to my email and refresh here. Sure enough, here's my draft for Carol. Now I'm bringing in that email sync, which is great. Let me just read this real quick. And look, we pulled in the notes. So it says your gift notes specify that you'd like your donation to be used to feed hungry people in New York City, and we assure you that that's what we're going to do. Great. So ChatGPT created one version for Ross that did not include any gift notes because Ross did not have any gift notes. But when we pulled in Carol, because Carol had those extra notes on the gift, we were able to incorporate those directly into our email. So again, you definitely want to play with this. You probably want to use ChatGPT 4. It's just going to be a lot more powerful, a lot more robust, and give you better results. And it's definitely worth the cost. I think it's like fractions of a penny per email that's going to be generated, so definitely worth looking into. And then we've also got our task management being added over here inside of Virtuous. So now I should have a task here for Carol as well that says, hey, you need to go ahead and send this email. It is absolutely crazy that we live in a world where this type of functionality is possible, right? You are able to create dynamic, hyper-personalized emails on a case-by-case basis. You're able to actually dynamically read and interact with the things that were in the donor's intent. So you could expand this way, way more than what I did here. If you wanted, for example, to do something with projects. Every time someone gives to a specific project, maybe you give ChatGPT a bit more context on what that looks like. What does that project mean to your organization? And if a donor gives to that project, what does that say about them? All of those different options, the gift notes, the project, the any other details about the donor, their lifetime giving, you can feed all of that into your prompt and then allow ChatGPT to generate that dynamic email that then you can go in and modify. Now, if you're going to use this at your organization, I definitely recommend having conversations internally about security and privacy and all of those important things, making sure that you're not passing any sensitive information through to ChatGPT. Obviously, those are considerations. Also, I would recommend making sure that you're using GPT-4 or higher whenever you're watching this video. Whatever the most current version is going to give you the best results. So it's not that much more money to be using those more powerful tools. I think it's pennies a prompt, or maybe fractions of a penny a prompt. So really, for what this is able to give you, it's definitely worth investigating and maybe investing in. So that's the video. If you have questions or comments or ideas, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to interact with you there. And if you've got ideas for other videos or other questions that you have that you want us to explore on the channel, love that. Definitely let me know. Until next time, may the fundraising force be with you.